We'll go ahead and introduce our speaker today, Mitch Vanya. Mitch is an assistant coach at Stephen F. Austin University, and prior to Stephen F. Austin, had a stint in the NBA with the Houston Rockets organization for 7 years. Coach Vanya is a graduate at College Station, Texas A&M University, where he was a student manager, was then a grad assistant, and also spent a year as a video coordinator. So he's had a wealth of knowledge, wealth of experience at the college and NBA levels, and today he's going to talk to us about their hashtag PressU defensive system. So, Coach, thanks for being on today.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you guys for having me. And obviously we kind of already started chatting a little bit, but hope everybody's doing well and keeping their sanity during this time. And obviously families are healthy right now, so that's the most important thing. So I hope that's going well for everybody. But again, thank you for having me. And yeah, you hit all the key spots. I was able to get away and play a couple of years of Division III up there in Michigan, close to you guys, and then I transferred and finished at A&M, and that's when I became a manager and grad assistant there. So after I graduated, I was fortunate enough to land with Houston and got an internship with them. Was there for 2 years, back to A&M for a season as video coordinator, back to the Rockets for 5, and then now at SFA. So it's been kind of an interesting ride so far. Fortunate, I'm from the Houston area, so I've been fortunate to be close to home for my career, and it's been a blessing for sure. But yeah, our defense at SFA, I've been really fortunate to be part of some really good defensive teams, and one of those being at SFA this past season, and then in Houston as well. The last 2 years that we were there, last season we finished, I think, middle of the pack defensively, but after All-Star break, second best defense. And then the year before that, when we lost to Golden State in the Western Conference Finals, we were the second best defense for the season. And I'm sorry, the sixth best defense for the season. So, Jeff Bizdelek was our associate head coach there, defensive guy, and was able to learn a lot from him. So hopefully some of this stuff today, it's basketball. You guys have probably all heard it before. But hopefully, can shed a little bit of light on what we did both in Houston and at SFA. And if you have questions along the way, I know you guys are going to ask questions at the end, but if you have questions along the way, don't hesitate to ask. All right, I'm going to share my screen real quick here. You guys can see it?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so basically, I'll go ahead and just start off with our mindset here. Confidence in the system, right? And that's starting from the coaching staff all the way down to the last guy on your bench, and just being fully bought in. And we had, you got to have the one or two guys that really take pride in the league. I've touched on it a little bit already, but our 3 seniors were tremendous this year. Just absolute great leadership from all different aspects from them, and they each brought something a little different. But we were led by our point guard, who was, for lack of a better term, our lead dog, right? He was just an animal, and we went as he went defensively. And those guys were just fully bought in. They believed in the system, and it goes a long way to help us as a staff to coach them hard and implement, our ideas and philosophies. And then I talk about a little bit of player input here. You got to be careful with this one. It's not something that you want to give a whole lot to, because they can take it and run with it. Give an inch, take a mile kind of deal. But I think to be able to give them some input, that it gives them some ownership, especially your seniors. And it doesn't have to be in a team setting. This is something you can do in private with your guys. And we would meet with our guys all the time. And that's the relationships on and off the floor. But giving them some input and ownership helps them to be bought in. It helps them to believe in the system. Something we stressed every single day was great communication, right? We always said tough teams talk. And again, to our seniors, they were really the catalysts in being vocal every single day in practice, in games in every single drill. And we went as they went, and it's a trickle down effect. And it's you've got your lower classmen become upperclassmen. They've hopefully learned some of that along the way from that senior leadership. And then simplicity. We didn't want to overcomplicate things. You can kind of add along the way if you want to, depending on how smart your team is and how much they pick up. But at the end of the day, like, basketball is basketball, right? So you don't want to overcomplicate it, and we didn't really do that. We had some principles that we implemented, and try to keep it simple for them so they didn't have to think so much on the floor. Physicality, especially in Houston, but also here at SFA, we always said make them feel you, right? And as you guys probably know, the more physical team tends to get away with a lot more from a foul standpoint, right? You're physical, you're aggressive, you're into them. You're probably going to get some fouls called, but at the same time, you're probably going to get away with a lot more too. And then just physical sacrifice. Again, our senior point guard, everybody, just their ability to take charges, floor dives, that kind of stuff, 50-50 plays, impact plays. Those guys were tremendous. All of our whole team was in sacrificing their bodies. And you'll see it on the clips here in a little bit when we get to it. But I always talk about defense as kind of a boxing match. It's one of the reasons we were so successful this year. And we led the country in forced turnovers and steals. We're number one in the country in both categories. And part of the way we were so successful and had such a good season was that we would be in a game, it'd be a tight game, and we would just be in them, sticking to our principles, body blows, and then all of a sudden, like, we'd get 3 or 4 turnovers in a row. It would be like a haymaker in boxing terms. And it would just almost be like a knockout punch. Maybe it's the end of the first half. Maybe it's the second half, it's been a close game, and all of a sudden you get 3 or 4 possessions in a row, and it's all of a sudden a 10-point game to create that separation. So I really like that term. We use that in Houston as well. And then let playmakers be playmakers, right? So you're going to have guys that have just natural ability to go and make a play. Sometimes it's not within the rules of your system, and sometimes it's a high risk, high reward. They're on the weak side, they go for a steal. Sometimes they don't get it, and it gives up an open shot. But for us, I think for the most part, to let them off a leash, so to speak, it allows them to go and make those types of plays for you, impact plays. And more often than not, it was successful for us. Jeff Bizdelek in Houston used to always say defense is hard and winning is hard. It's great effort all the time. And again, here at SFA, our guys were bought into that. And it is hard work. Like, we demand so much out of them, but at the same time, you can see it as the course of the season goes on. They start to really, they believe in it and they see it's hard, but when the results, you get winning and you see the results, start to get put together, they love it. But anyway, defensive must for us, transition defense. We denied one pass away, had great weak side help, no paint, no middle, and then defensive rebounding. That's pretty much the standards for just about everybody. But those were the must for us, non-negotiables. And then to start, first category here, transition defense. One of the terms we use is get back on the raise. So when the raise of the shot goes up for the other team, and it depends on how many guys you're sending to the boards, right? For us, we would get 2 guys back always, 2 perimeter players. 2 of our bigs would always crash, and then that third guy, usually our 3, would sometimes crash, sometimes not. You just kind of have to read the situation. But sprint back, first 3 steps. Jeff Bizdelek terms here from Houston. A 1-second delay yields 10 to 15 feet of separation. So when that shot goes up and you pause or hesitate for just a second, when they're going on offense and you're getting back on defense, that's 10 to 15 feet they may get on you. So you got to, on the raise, you got to get back. No gamblings or stabs in the backcourt. No talking to officials, obviously. We always said, don't have a man, you don't buddy run, and you communicate. Right? Again, communication. Protecting the rim first, and then close out to shooters, and then staying in the play. Don't assume anything, right? And that's after turnovers, missed shots, whatever. always stay in the play. So that's enough of me talking with the slides here. Let's watch some clips. So again, it's going to be some Houston clips and some SFA clips here. But transition defense, shot goes up, and you see in Houston, we usually only sent 2 to the glass. But you sprint back, you get back, and you stop the ball. And we also called it loading, right? So load to the ball. You got 3 on the ball here, right? But PJ Tucker, he was a beast, right? Hands up, verticality, just making him change his shot. Here at SFA, sprint back. So on this clip, right, shot goes up, and we didn't necessarily get back right away, but we still get back some. Our bigs aren't sprinting back, but our point guard, talk about him, physical sacrifice, right? Making up for the mistake. Our bigs not getting back. They got beat down the floor, but he covers for the mistake right here. And this is a 250-pound guy on our 5'10" point guard. Just physical sacrifice, taking the charge, taking the hit, protecting the basket. In Houston, we always talked about arriving on the catch. So obviously this is Golden State, lethal shooters, right? Arriving on the catch. James arrives on the catch, takes away the shot. And then we're playing from there, right? Arriving on the catch, Eric's into him, makes him take a tough shot. Sprinting back, building the show. Right, again, loading to the ball. Clint's in a good position here. Kind of, he could be chest a little bit more towards the ball. But you got 3 across the line right here, right? Nowhere for him to really drive. When you get back, and we switched a lot in Houston, right? So we're switching, which I'll get into a little bit later, right? Clint gives up middle, but again, physical sacrifice. PJ was our leader, our bulldog there in Houston. He takes the charge. I've hit it a couple times. This is after a made bucket, but again, loading to the ball, right? Daniel House here. It's a great show of his body. Clint's in good position. James Ennis is coming around the ball screen, but he's got nowhere to drive, right? 3 guarding the ball is a term that we use at SFA. Always 3 guarding the ball. James Ennis takes a sacrifice, takes a charge. Kicking the small out, right? So transition, don't have a particular matchup, right? CP's on a big right here. James Harden comes across the way. He kicks him out, kicks the small out. Right, good recognition by everybody, and then we'll play from there. Staying in place. So turnover happens for us, right? We got a player on the floor that's staying in the play. Great job sprinting back, make a play on the ball, block, and our 3rd guy in there to get the rebound. Another turnover. Right, you see our 4-man coming right here, sprinting down. Rati, our 2 that lost the ball, stays in the play, right? Block, deflection, floor dive. Getting after it. This one, shot goes up. Our 4-man dives on the floor, makes a play. Our 3 dives on the floor, physical sacrifice, going the other way, right? So you saw a little bit with SFA there. Our physical sacrifice was second to none. Our guys, tremendous. Again, I give them so much credit, just tremendous effort all the way around, all the time. One of our other rules here, denying 1 pass away. So one of the reasons we were able to force so many turnovers was we denied everything. I mean, we were super aggressive. And with that, you give up back cuts, right? Or lobs over the top. But we were really good from the weak side as well. The last little thing here, talking about reading shoulders, we were really good coming in, pulling in from the weak side, almost playing free safety for when those backdoor cuts happened, you come over and make a play on the ball. Being active in the gaps, 3 guarding the ball, stunning. We always said ball has priority. I've already talked about weak side, but the midline helped here. So clips. So this is to start the game, right? We always had an emphasis, start the game, 3 stops in a row, right? Deny. We're denying in the gaps, on the line, up the line, deny. Ball pressure, denying everywhere, nowhere to go, right? And then that's to start the game. It's huge for us, right? Sets the intensity, sets the temperature of what the game's going to be like for those other guys. Denying lean catches, right? So you see how we're above, and we don't want them to necessarily make contact, but we're still in good position here, right? They throw it over the top, we go and make a play on the ball. Denying elbow catches. I mean, we denied everywhere. That's our 5-man denying of the elbow. He goes and makes a steal. 4-man denial, goes and makes a steal. And you're going to see a lot of turnovers because that's what we did. I'm not trying to make a highlight tape or anything like that. Obviously, these are our best defensive clips. But, again, leading the country in turnovers, I think we forced like 24, 25 turnovers a game, something like that. So a lot of them end turnovers. You see again here, ball pressure. We're denying. He picks it up, deny. And, again, so now we get the back cut. And we're in great position here in the midline. Denies, goes and makes a play, gets a turnover. Again, denials, picks the ball up, great ball pressure, nowhere to go, turnover. So we really, like I said, we really emphasize denying everything. And it's really, really hard. It's physically demanding. We were fortunate because we had a very deep team. We were able to play 9, 10, sometimes 11 guys. But typically 9 or 10 guys we would play. So when guys would get gassed, give them an opportunity, hey, come out real quick. We'll get you out. Get a blow. Right? Should have been in a denial right here. Right? He wasn't in deny. But, again, now we got a good stunt. And we don't want to give up strong side corner threes. But our guys were really good at playing cat and mouse right here, right? So cat and mouse, he's getting in there, trying to make a deflection, discourage the drive, but still be able to get back to his man in case he does throw that pass. But we're active. We go and make plays. Again, in the gap, that's our 5-man, right? Our 5's we're cross-matched. He's on the perimeter. He's denying, right? He gets in there. He makes a play. Floor dive. Dribble handoffs, most of the time we were blowing them up. Blow them up, get in the gap, same thing, same rules apply, deny everything. Get in there and make a play. Denial. Right, deny by our 4-man right there. He denies the pass. Now the guard's coming up. We're staying in line, staying in the gap, force a turnover. Here's some of the back cut stuff I was talking about. So because we're in denial, now we're going to get a lot of back cuts. And we would game plan, we'd prep for this, we'd know it, right? Back cut, we got good weak side help here, reading shoulders. Go make a play, go make a steal. Again, 4-man guarding out on the perimeter. He's up and into him. There's a back cut, and here's the stunt, right? So he stunts. Now he's going to get a back cut. But again, our weak side's pulled in. We're reading shoulders. We'll make a play. So we err on the side of just being ultra aggressive, right? We're in denial here. Make them back cut, right? And we call this a Noah, but it's verticality at the rim, right? Weak side pulls in. He's there, making him take a tough shot. Back cut, pull in. Everybody's crowded in the paint. So you got 4, almost 5 guys in the paint right there. All right, so back cut. And everybody's covering for each other. Weak side's pulled in, turnover. Again, he overplays it. He gets back cut. Midline's pulled in, charge. All right, last couple clips on this, on the weak side help here. So post defense, which I'll get into in a second, but to talk about for us specifically, again, we were in denying the post, right? You can call it front, but technically we should have been a little bit higher right here, not attached, so he couldn't walk under us. And it's counter to everything I've been taught. It was kind of weird for me this year coming into it the first year. Like, man, that just, it doesn't seem natural to me, right? But again, it's great trust, great communication from our weak side. And he, like I said, he should technically be about right here, kind of 3/4 chested, so to speak, with one arm up, denying this pass right here. But he's more of a front position there. But again, our weak side's pulled in. They throw it over the top. Go and get it. All right. This is a little bit better position here. You see he's not attached. He does go get attached, but again, weak side pulled in. Number 10 right here, our point guard, goes and makes a play. We're sniffing these things out, trying to bait them into throwing the pass. Here's versus a switch. We get switched up. Our point guard's on the post. Now with our guards, we did want them to front. We did want them to be a little bit more attached, right? But again, reading shoulders from the weak side, throw it over the top. It's the only pass they can make. We go and get it. All right. So again, starting with our post defense, we always teach starts with great ball pressure first and foremost. We denied the catch, and then we would dig at times depending on the game, depending on who we were guarding. We would dig from the perimeter. In Houston, we had a huge no middle stance. And obviously it's different from the pros, from college or high school, but a huge no middle stance, and then we would always double from the baseline. So I wanted to show those clips from Houston because I really like this concept. And you just saw how we didn't really get hurt in the post because we denied so much, so it didn't really hurt us. So if you have a team that, you get a little bit more post catches against you, right, this is the kind of concept we would apply. Right, so in Houston, again, no middle. We're on this top shoulder. So you see PJ's on his top shoulder, baiting him to have to spin or go baseline. The no middle stance right here. Right, taking it in the chest, making him turn baseline, right, taking a tough shot. We'll live with it. I know it's KD, it's Kevin Durant. He makes that, he makes it, but that's the shot we would want him to take. Because in Houston we did switch so much, right, switch, we would have perimeters in the post, right, switch again, right, again. James Ennis now is on Vucevic, right? So no middle stance, taking it in the chest, baiting him to go baseline. And this is where the double team from the baseline would come, right? So we called it fire in Houston, fire, fire, fire. So this opposite defender that's low, he'd be yelling, fire, 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 right? As he's starting to let him know that he's going to be there in support, right? So he's baiting him to spin. As soon as he gets 2 feet in the paint, we're there. It almost becomes a trap. If he makes his shot, he makes it, but we want him taking a tough shot over 2 guys. Here we are again. Ball screen happens. We switch because that's what we do. Right? Eric Gordon on the big fella. Right? He eventually gets to no middle. Right? Making him go baseline. PJ Tucker's there. Right? As soon as he spins, he sees him. There's the trap. We got 4 hands on the ball, making it tough for him. And then PJ was just an animal. He was just making plays. He made plays for us left and right. He's kind of our guy that you'd have to let off the leash, so to speak. All right, post D, last clip on this one. No middle. And again, we switched everything. So post splits were interesting because Golden State, by far and away, best team in the league at post splits, which is the screens off the ball when the ball is thrown in the post, right? Especially with their shooters coming off. So we always switched, on the touch. We were physical. We were up and into guys, right? Not getting screens. You see Clint, he switches out onto Dame Lillard there, denying the 3, all right? So we'd be denial here. These guys, zoning up on the weak side. Here comes James Harden on the baseline. Again, the fire, make him take a tough shot over 2 guys. All right. Pick and roll defense. So at SFA, again, guys, if you guys have questions along the way, don't hesitate to ask. We can get to it at the end too if you want to. But pick and roll defense, on the side, we would blue, down, or ice it. I'm not sure if you guys know what that means, but it's basically making it go baseline. All right, it's a no middle, which I'll show you in the clips here. In the middle of the floor, we would right it or left it. And then we always emphasize guards must be up and into the handler. You can't let them reject. You force them into the coverage. And then our bigs, both in Houston and at SFA, were up at the level, right? Level of their screen. They're not in a drop. Sometimes we would be more aggressive and trap at times. Same thing in Houston, we would trap at certain occasions, but for the most part at the level of the screen. And as that guard comes off, we tell them, all right, you've got 2 dribbles to get him under control. So the defensive guard has to get him under control so that big can get back, all right, and take some of the pressure off of the weak side to get back to the big that's rolling. Again, weak side denials and stunts and switching, which I'll get to in a little bit, but weak side denials and stunts, that never, no matter the concept, we always had to have that. All right, so side ball screens. All right, so this is what we call an ice right here. So our big right here, you're saying ice, ice, or down, or blue, whatever the terminology is going to be, and forcing it to come this way. The coverage is going to be on the side right here. I know this is kind of in the middle of the floor, but right here he called ice. So our guard jumps on this high side right here, right, to force him to stay on the baseline. We should be a little bit more into him, but it's pretty good right there. We got a good stunt again from our other big right here in the gap. Get him under control, right, turnover. He's on the side, and ice, great. He's up at the level of the screen. Good aggressive ice by our big right there. Guard should get back in front. He should get back in front. He's a little late. But again, in the gaps right here, 3 guarding the ball, weak side's pulled in. Make them take a tough air pass over 4 hands. Same thing here. Get into him a little bit more, right? But he's up at the level. Makes him pick it up. Weak side's pulled in. Right? Go and get it. Be aggressive. Right? He catches it, but again, he calls it an ice, calls it down, whatever you want to call the terminology. He gets up and into him. He's into him, and now he's trying to use the screen. He's trying to go middle, which is what we don't want to happen. But he's in good position right here. He takes it in the chest. He's got nowhere to go. Tries to go behind his back. And our big is aggressive. Our big is aggressive. He goes and makes a play. All right, this one's a little different, a little quicker. So ball screen's coming, so our big's not necessarily in position yet. He's going to get there, right? But our guard knows it's coming, and we're no middle anyway. In this situation, we're aggressive. Weak side's pulled in. We get a deflection on the ball. Again, turnover. All right. We ice it. We down it. He picks it up. Big should get back a little bit quicker. But again, our 2 guards are pulled in on the weak side. And air skip pass is made. Right. Close out, no middle. Big's there in position. Multiple efforts, making them take a tough shot. All right, we would trap. I mean, some of these are kind of semi-traps anyway, but even if more so, we'd be even more aggressive, staying on the ball. I don't know where he's dribbling to. He dribbles to the coffin corner, but 4 hands on the ball, guys taking away, the first passes out. Ice it. We're aggressive. He picks it up. Coming over to deny. He's playing free safety in the back here. But we're aggressive. We're on the ball. He's got nowhere to go. Denial. Aggressive into him. Again, there's a trap. So he's taking away this pass here. He's taking away this pass here. Here's the free safety. And I know this is a short roll. You can make adjustments for this. But he comes over. Right now he's going to be free safety because he had to take the ball. So we emphasize our big sprinting out of the coverage. Got to get out of your coverage, get back into play. Right? Should have been in a little bit more urgency getting out. But again, we're aggressive. We're on the ball. Force him to turn it over. All right, again, trap, deny. Right? He's coming from the other big here. He popped this time, so he's got to go make a play. He's got to make a play. He should be rotating up, and he should be playing too. right? But good job by our first denial here. Goes and makes a play, turnover. Right, again, on the ball, right? He catches it so far out. Obviously, it's not a scoring area. Big should be getting back. Right, multiple efforts. You know, it's a switch. It becomes a switch, right? He's on the ball, so he's like, our big's like, all right, I got to go find somebody. Sprints to the paint, gets downhill. We're active. We're in the gaps. Floor dive. Again, just great effort. Multiple efforts. This is a good job by our guard keeping it down, or to a side right here, keeping it ice, keeping it down. Right, he jumps up there, doesn't let him use the screen. Right, Big's in good position there to help. Aggressive trap. Multiple efforts, and that's the Big again talking about him. Get him out, get him out, get him out, get him out. Goes and makes a play. And all these clips, guys. I mean, it's just we just had great effort all the time. Guys were bought in, covering for each other. If there were mistakes made, physical sacrifice, good contest, aggressive. We're on the ball. We're trapping. We're denying. You guys get the idea. There's a lot of clips, but all right. A back cut happens off of a ball screen, right? We're talking about being in deny, even on ball screens. So we're in denial. We're up. We're aggressive. But you see, he turns, snaps his head, right? Makes a play anyway. But you see our weak side pulling in here. Number 3 is pulling in to be there. Number 13 is ready to play 2 on the weak side. All right, great job getting this middle pick and roll. Does a great job getting over the screen, getting into the ball. This is what I'm talking about, getting into the ball handler, right? He's aggressive, he's into him, doesn't get screened right here. Gets the top leg over the screen. Gets into him, Big's getting back, good deflection. Physical sacrifice, they didn't call it there. But again, trying to make plays. All right, switching situations. So this would be typically a switch right here. But again, our guard is so aggressive and into him. He does a great job, and he reads it. He reacts. He doesn't switch. But on this second rescreen, all right, now we're in position. We read it. We switch. Right? We're 3/4 in the post. We're denying the post here. Weak side's pulled in. Right there on the catch. Kick out. Again, just great effort, multiple efforts, diving on the floor. Stunt from the corner, right? It's more of a pop situation, right? Pops, there's a stunt. One of these, they could have switched that, but one of these 2 guys has got to be more aggressive getting back right here. Great stunt by our guard in the corner. He goes down the line, makes him throw it over the top. He can't go middle. Another screen happens. He slips it. No switch necessary. Staying into the ball. Shot clock's winding down. Got to take a tough shot. All right, here's another switch situation. And there's no screen here, but because we're in denials, he just goes ahead. And then we scouted this. We knew it was coming. Early switch. He switches to get underneath. Right, in deny position. Switches again off the ball. Right, they got nothing out of it. And that's why I like switching so much, which I'll get into a little bit later with Houston. But switching just takes teams out of so much stuff. And it becomes a one-on-one game. Switch, we're aggressive, we're on the ball. All right. Any questions on that stuff so far? I feel like I'm rambling. Am I doing all right?
I have a
Coach,
question.
I think you have a question in the chat room there.
Oh, okay. Let me, so when the bigs call out ice and the ball screen is in the middle of the floor, is there a direction called out by the big? All right, so if they call ice, that tells our guard whatever side they're closest to, that's what the big is declaring. So if it's, if it's more kind of in the middle of the floor, but say it's on the left slot, just outside of the middle of the floor, and our big calls ice, it's going to be towards the left side. Does that make sense? If you wanted to call direction, you could call left ice. We would say, so if I'm the guard defender, right, the guy's in front of me and I'm the guard defender, I'm looking at the ball and I hear left, right, it's going to be my left shoulder. That's the way we do it, which is in the middle for left or right, which is where the screen's coming to my right shoulder. We jump up, force them into the coverage. The same thing, if I'm sort of in the middle of the floor and they call ice, again, it's on that guard to really read and know where the ball's, it's a feel. He feels where it's going. If it is kind of more shaded towards the left or shaded to the right, he's going to know that that's the direction that the big is declaring. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Coach. Brad Stengel here. I was going to ask the question. Do you ice the ball screen a lot in the middle of the floor, and is that based strictly on scouting reports? Or, are you letting your big call out, how they're handling the ball screen just based on, personnel or what kind of – how do you ice the ball screen in the middle of the floor?
So if it is more in the middle of the floor, our bigs then would call left or right, right? You want to stay away from the ice as much as possible from the middle. It's ice or down or blue, whatever. There's different terminology for it. You want that more traditional, just on the side of the floor. But if it is in the middle or on the side of the floor, if it is in the middle of the floor, you want to call left or right. For example, let me go back to clip or two here. So like this clip here, if it's in the middle of the floor, right, he should be calling left right here. Left, 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 because it's coming to his left shoulder. He should technically be right here. All right, rescreen happens. Now, it's a gray area, right? It's a gray area. And this is where we would tell our bigs, call it loud, early, and often, right? If you make a call, stick with the call, right? Right now, is it in the middle of the floor? It could be debated, right? I would say, yes, this is middle of the floor. Our big is going to try to ice it right now. He's in position to try to keep it on this side. But it's going towards the middle of the floor. I think our guard is anticipating that. So that's why he does a great job getting into the ball, right? But to me, it would be a left. And rescreens are tough to guard anyway. This is a unique clip here. But rescreen, and that's something game plan prep. If there's set a lot of rescreens, do you want to go ahead and try to keep it on that side of the floor? It would vary from game to game like that. But in this situation, our big was wrong twice. It's actually not a great clip. It's a great clip from our guard, but not that great from our big. Let me see if there's a better one here. So this situation, he's calling left. Big's going in position, right? It's coming to our guard's left shoulder. So it's left, 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 left. We're into him, making him go into the coverage, right? No rejects, right? So this situation right here, we would be calling left. And it's a little bit clearer on this clip. If for whatever reason he called ice right here, that's really tough because this is really the middle of the floor, in my opinion, right? But if he called ice, for whatever reason, our guard would probably jump up and to be on this top shoulder to force him to the left side here. Does that make sense? I mean, again, and we tell our guy, basketball is basketball, right? It's a lot of read and react. I don't know if there's any clear mistakes are going to happen, 100 times a game. There's no perfect possessions. It's why you can't hold the team to zero, right? So that's where the multiple efforts, the communication comes in, because mistakes are going to happen. That's at the end of the day, that's the reality of it. Teams score. That's all. The game's always been about getting buckets, right? So if you if you're the big, make a call, declare it loud, early, and often. Don't change it, right? So if he calls left here and all of a sudden he's like, left, left, left. No, right, 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 right. That creates indecision. That causes confusion. You make a call, stick with it. It doesn't matter, right? That's the call we're going with. We're going to stick with it. So it takes out some of the error, so to speak. But there's no perfect situations. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anything else on that?
Yeah, I have a quick one. I won't take too long. The covering the short roll on the ice on the sideline. On one of the clips, you had the bottom guy kind of took up, and then the nail guy kind of rotated to kind of the zoning up on the backside. Do you guys have a specific way you cover that, or is it kind of a reading how deep the roll gets? We ice, and sometimes we get in a little trouble with who takes the short roll.
Yeah, let me see if I can find that clip because I think I know what the one you're talking about here. Because our guard rotated over. I think it was this one. No, I think it was the. Sorry, give me 1 second and I'll find it.
No, it's all good. I appreciate it. This gave us some trouble this year figuring out who should come over and take it. I think this is it.
Yeah. So in this situation, you're saying, so sometimes you would say that should the guard, like say he rolls more towards the free throw line right here.
Well, yeah, we teach, if it's like a pop situation where that top guy like kind of bluffs the pop. So he's always kind of like, his eyes are always looking for that first pass out of there.
Mm-hmm.
But on the short roll, it's a little bit different. The bottom guy is a little bit more engaged in the play too.
Yeah, and in this situation, we would 10 times out of 10 tell our bottom guy to rotate and take him. And he would take any first pass. Because a lot of times what's going to happen is this guy should be coming high when you see the trap, right? Give him 3 outlets. He should be coming high right here, right? So he should be in denial, and this bottom guy becomes the free safety then. And it's tough because you put him in a position. So say he's high and he's denying and he comes over, that's going to leave the backside butt naked, right? Wide open. But that's where we really emphasized, high hands on the ball. And we didn't trap all the time. We were strategic when we did it, knowing who the personnel was, who the teams were. And we didn't do it all the time, but we were, we pick and chose when we were going to do it. Maybe after a timeout. Again, maybe it's personnel to get it out of certain guys' hands. Maybe it's to get the ball into his hands to make a play. I know in Houston, when we played Golden State in particular, we would want Draymond. Draymond Green's a hell of a playmaker. He can make plays. But we would rather him have the ball than Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, guys like that, where Draymond's having to come down and make a decision to either go score or make that extra pass. But again, it's game plan, really. But in this situation, we would tell our bottom guy to come get this pass. So we were 28-3 this year. One of our losses was at home to A&M Corpus Christi. It was a bad loss for us, by far our worst of the season, and just we had terrible effort that game. But in that game, we were really aggressive in ball screens, and they torched us on the short roll. They torched us because they were getting it to this guy. We weren't rotating over, and he was being able to make plays, which we would live with, but he was making shots that night, or he was making the right pass out to other guys when they were making shots. So the second time we played him, we had to make the adjustment where we weren't as aggressive in the ball screen because they were killing us in that short roll. So it comes down to, game plan prep, who do you want making that play? But in this particular situation, the rotations, it's a trap. I think in trap situations, sometimes you just got to go make plays. I don't know. There's a lot of different scenarios where there's some gray area. Like I said, in this situation, if he were in number 4 in the blue were to come high and he were denying, that would leave the backside wide open. But in this situation, because he comes over, he's able to play to because this guy never lifted. Right? So it's a read and react. But in this situation, we would definitely tell him to come low. But it's something that they would have to read, communicate, talk to each other. Does that make sense?
Awesome. Yep. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else on ball screens? All right, we'll get into some drive situations here. So great low man support. You've seen in a lot of these clips where our weak side's pulled in, crowded paint. We call it help sink or fill at SFA. In Houston, we would call it crackbacks. Now, crackback a lot of times is an offensive term that I found out now that I've been back at SFA. So your terminology will vary, but in Houston we called it a crackback, which I'll show you in the clips. And then on your weak side, we called it X-outs in Houston. So just to show you some clips that are what I'm talking about here. So baseline drive, right? We're in great support, right? We're helping, and it becomes a switch. We weren't switching that. We weren't supposed to, but again, our guys were just making plays. You read it, right? They have that freedom. 4 hands on the ball, deny the pass out. But you stop the ball before it ever gets to the paint. Baseline drive, right? He cuts it off. We make him take a tough shot. Number 23 is, and New Orleans, this is New Orleans we're playing, they really lifted the floor. They never really had guys in the corners, right? So our weak side help a lot of times would have to drop from these elevated positions, right? But we're there, make them take a tough two, right? Floor dive, get on the floor, get on the floor, get on the floor. Still haven't come up with it, but they're in scrambling. We end up making them force, turn it over. It's multiple floor dives. We believe because we didn't get the ball, but because we had great effort, it forced them to rush and turn it over. Slot drives, again, crowded paint, good weak side help. We're no middle team. All right, here's the slot drive. We're helping from the gap. 14's not in a great position. He should be a little, should be on the other side. But the way the play turned out, he's there in support. Right, 4's pulling in from the weak side. Help sink and fill. And this is what in Houston we would call a crackback. Right, he should be on the inside of this big right here, which he is. Houston, that's what we call the crackback. Here we call it help sink and fill. Right. Kind of a top drive, slot drive, whatever. But great crowded here. Right, he's helping from the corner. And again, let me reiterate: we're not giving up strong side threes. Our guys, credit to them, because they did a great job of being here, but reading it when they needed to get back out to take away that three, deny that pass. But weak side's pulled in, we're aggressive, we're on the ball, making them take a tough shot. And again, you see the effort through all these plays. Floor dive, floor dive. Slot drive, Big's there, number 3 in Houston, like I said, crackback. He should be getting on the inside right here. But again, physical sacrifice, right? It's simple, but effective. Coming over, helping, right? Taking away the slot drive. We're there in help position. Great charge. This is a clip from Houston. Slot drive. James is coming over. Austin Rivers is cracking back. Right, PJ Tucker this is what we call an X out. He should be dropping about right here, right, ready to play the corner and here. It's an X out situation. Right, but good hands by James, good crackback by Austin. Deflection. Right, slot drive. Daniel House comes over. Right, because there's no low guy, CP can play 2 right here as the X out guy. CP X's out. Austin goes and gets his. Multiple efforts. Here comes another slot drive. Right, Fareed's in position there. House is in pretty good position. Gerald Green's on the weak side, ready to play 2. You see him turning. He's getting ready. Gerald's getting ready to turn out here in case they throw it to the corner right here. Good job by them making a play on the ball there. This is game plan, personnel, right? Good job by Austin. Kind of a slot drive, middle drive here. Clayt comes over. Helps to have a great rim protector like him. He doesn't even want to take the shot. But again, House, now he's in the X-out guy. He's the X-out guy. So in the X-out, let me explain that a little bit further. The X-out is the first pass out, right? So if he were to make this pass to House's guy, House would take Draymond Green right here. But because he makes it to the corner, House is going to take Jarepko instead, right? So if House were to take hit, and then whoever's helping, right, takes the second pass, right? So Clint comes over and help position here, right? Because House X's out, Clint then has the second pass out. Right, so X out, it's Draymond Green, not a hard closeout. We want him taking that shot, personnel driven. All right, does that make sense? I really like the X out in Houston, and we've done a little bit of that here at SFA, and it's helped clean up the rotation so it's not just mass chaos. Right? We don't want to necessarily get in rotation. You know, you want to stay out of it as much as possible, but at the end of the day, it's going to happen. And so we really worked on no middle, you know, really coming over and helping from the midline on the weak side, taking away the paint, making them make those passes back out to the perimeter. But again, because of the three-point line has changed the game so much, as you guys, if you watched Devin, obviously, last week or a couple weeks ago, three has changed the game. So you got to have great closeouts, great awareness to the three-point line, and then ready. You know, you want to stay out of multiple rotations because then you get in the drive and kick game, and it's hard to guard. I mean, defense, that's really hard to do.
Hey, Coach. Watching your guys move and rotate with such purpose and quickness, I'm curious, how do you guys build up to that point? I'm guessing it's just a little more than what would be like a traditional shell drill. So what does the build up look like?
Right. So, you know, in Houston and at SFA, you can script it a lot of times. It'll be a shell drill. It could be 4-on-4. It could be 5-on-5. A lot of times we would add that fifth big in a low position, either in a dunker spot or on the block, whatever. But, you know, you work on certain situations. Like in Houston, for example, we called it the multi-purpose drill. I really like this drill because we did switch so much. And it would be scripted, right, just so the guys could know what they're doing at first. But it would be dribble handoff, skip, second dribble handoff, throwback, right? And then you would get into your slot drive, or you would pitch it down to a baseline drive, and then you would be live from there. So again, it's similar concepts at both SFA and Houston. We really pulled in from the weak side, and now you're working on your X outs. You want them to make that skip pass either to the corner or to the slot or to the wing, and then you work on your rotations from there, and you're live. You script it at first, and you can change it up. You could do dribble handoffs. You could do ball screen, make it a ball screen coverage, right? You guard the ball screen right, they skip it to the second side, second ball screen, back to the third side. Now you're live out of that ball screen as they're getting downhill. Because now, for example, you have the short roll, right? It's a roll, it's a short roll. And they make a pass. Now, and not only is it offensive drill, but it's also the defensive drill, right? They're making a pass either to the skip to the corner off that roll or out to the wing. And it's, you know, it's multiple ways to get into it, but just being creative and making it live, either off of a slot, somehow getting a slot drive or a baseline drive and working on your kickouts and then rotating from there.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Verticality. Our guys did a tremendous job. We had a couple guys that were really, really good at this. And this is going back to drill work. We really worked on this as well. Being in help position on one side as the ball is reversed. Now you get your slot drive again and your weak side defenders coming over. And we would make it live. At the beginning of the year is more scripted, like a manager or a walk-on or somebody would drive that slot and he would be there and we would just work on verticality, right? Work on getting your arms and hands up and back, whatever. And they knew the shot was coming. They were there. They were getting beat off the slot drive. The perimeter defender was up there. But we'd rotate guys in that. And then as the season progressed, we would make that slot drive live. You get beat going downhill, but you got to stay on his hip. And that defender coming over from the weak side bottom has got to stop the ball. And if he takes a shot, that's when you work on your Noah. But you got to keep him from getting around you, splitting you, all that kind of stuff. So it was a build-up from there, and that's how we worked on verticality. But our guys were really good at it, right? You jump it straight up, hands and arms up and back, not coming down, not fouling, right? Making it make a tough shot over the top of you. Again, weak side. So here's a back cut. This is all the stuff we've seen, right? It's a back cut, right? Our help position's there. He goes up, arms and hands up and back, right? We always talk about elbows at the ears, right? Elbows at your ears, right? Making them take a tough shot, right? Before closeout, he gets beat, helps there, but then he gets beat again, doesn't cut him off. But again, weak side bottom, right? Great job, just going straight up. And this is the terminology we've learned here at SFA and in Houston. As that help defender comes, he jumps up, you can't jump A to B, right? You can't be moving forward, right? You got to jump A to A, which is just straight up, right? If he hits you in the chest and you absorb the contact, and then you're moved backwards, that's legal, right? And that's what the referees always told us, both here and in the pros. But straight up, straight down, again, make them take a tough shot. Mid pick and roll, and here's going back to the question we had earlier: is this an ice or is this a left? Right? Our big was calling ice right here. You see him jump out, but our guard wasn't in position to guard it that way. Right? So we screw up the pick and roll here. Right? He comes, he gets beat middle, but again, mistakes happen. We're in great position to help. Right? Good verticality. Again, making them take a tough shot. All right. I'll just let these clips play. I got some Houston stuff here. We're switching at the end. You see it all: back cuts, drives, helping on the drive, multiple efforts. You end up taking a charge there, and that's kind of your rotation, drive and kick game right there. But it's multiple efforts, multiple efforts. Great communication, right? Deny, you push the catch out. Deny the dribble handoff. Right, get it down or ice on the side. And here's a roll. Right, we're more aggressive in the ball screen. Here's a roll, our weak side's getting pulled in. We're there and help. Our four-man's ready to X out. Making them take a tough shot over verticality. We're up and into them. He eventually picks it up. You see where they're catching the ball. It's way out on the perimeter. We're okay with that. All right, post defense. All right, we're denied. He throws it over the top. We come over to help. Nowhere really to go. We'll live with that. Deny the elbows. Really good help. We go from denying the elbow right here into kind of a side ball screen, and he anticipates it. And again, game plan prep. He knew it was coming, right? So he jumps out there early, right, to discourage any type of drive, any type of ball screen action, even though he slips. Deny, make him cut back door. Emergency switch there. It's low clock. Help, right? He should be a little bit higher right here, right? But he's in help on the drive, discourages that, gets back out, closes out, makes him take a tough shot, hits the side of the backboard. I love this clip right here. All right, so our point guard, he goes up, misses a shot in transition, right? Misses a layup. A lot of times you say he missed a layup on one end, it equals a layup on the other end, right? But this is just tremendous effort. So he missed the layup here. Just watch his effort here. He sprints back, hits in front of the ball, makes him pick it up. They switch that. Right now he's fronting the post. Skip pass, baseline drive. He goes and takes a charge. And I talked about our point guard being our bulldog. I mean, he did everything. He guarded everybody in that possession right there. And then took a charge, physical sacrifice at the end. You got to have that one or two guy on the team that just takes pride in getting stopped every single possession. All right, here's an X-out situation for us. Skip pass, right? Top guy. You see him guarding the slot right here. He takes it. He rotates out. They communicate it. Another baseline drive. Nowhere to go. He picks it up. Kick out. Ends up being a shot clock violation. So this ball screen right here, middle of the floor, he's calling right. He forces him back into the coverage, nowhere to go. He slips out, big gets back, in deny position, denying dribble handoffs. Making him take a tough two, finishing with a rebound. All right, it's more traditional on the side right here, so we know it's going to be an ice. And notice our big stays right here. I talk about our point guard being a really good defender. Hands down, he was the head of the snake. But one area I think he could have improved on was getting back in front of the ball out of ball screens. You see him here, he doesn't get back in front. He more stays on the side. So it forces our big to stay in help position a little bit longer. All right, but skip pass is made, close out, middle ball screen, he's calling right. Good job getting back in front. Great stunt. Help him. Right now it's just multiple efforts. Guys making plays, right? So it's just great activity, good multiple efforts, communication, covering for each other, physical sacrifice. I mean, again, credit to our guys. They were just tremendous this year, and they were fully bought in, which helped us be, as successful as we were. This last little section right here is from my days in Houston, because we did switch so much. I personally love switching, but I do think that you have to have the right personnel for it. You got to have smart defenders, you got to have aggressive defenders, and you got to have, in ball screens, for example. So the year we went to the Western Conference Finals, we switched 1 through 5 everything. Clint was switching off onto ones. Our ones were switching off onto 5s because we had bigger, stronger guys. Now, when CP came, Austin Rivers was there, we got away from those guys switching as much in ball screens. So again, it's personnel driven. We didn't want Chris Paul or Austin Rivers down in the post as much as possible. One thing we did to counter that, though, is when they did switch, we did a really good job of switching off the ball, which I'll show you in some of these clips here. But switching up and into some of our rules, in Houston were switch to deny, switch to take away threes, and switch to force turnovers. And we wanted to be as physical and aggressive as possible with it, making them go backwards. And when that happens, you take teams out a lot of their offense, and it becomes a one-on-one game or a ball screen game. But even then, with the switches and ball screens, it still is a one-on-one game. And then we always said switch is a weapon. We don't want to switch out of convenience, right? A lot of times, players, for whatever reason, they think when you switch, you don't have to be as aggressive. We wanted the opposite of that. We wanted our guys to be even more aggressive when they did switch. So you see here, ball screen happens, right? James switches up and into him. Obviously, Steph Curry, he could pull from anywhere at any time, so we were very aggressive with these guys. Making him drive, PJ in the gap, good help there. Ball screen, right? Tuck switches up and into him, and you see House. House stays until he knows Tuck is there. Tuck switches up. You got weak side pulling in. House should have switched underneath, but our weak side defender's there. Clint's there, and House still makes a play on the ball. Right, CP does a good job of getting over the first screen, right? But here's the rescreen. James is up, and here's where you don't want Gobert and CP necessarily as a matchup, right? So CP gets switched on to Gobert, but you see him already starting to point to Tuck right here, and Tuck's reading this. Tuck says, "Okay, I'm going to pick up Gobert. CP is going to take his guy out of the corner." Right, switching off the ball, right, takes that all away. And now it's better. You have a better matchup here, and you have Tuck, who's just unbelievable in the post, right, and in midline positions, taking charges. He's there to help from the midline, right? He stunts, gets a deflection. Good job taking to the chest by Fareed, right? We switch, but again, you see CP already communicating. He knows. He doesn't want to get switched onto the 5-man right here. All right, so Tuck's reading that. He's got a shooter. CP's going to take this shooter lifting up out of the corner. Tuck's going to take the roll man. He goes, he makes a play, almost baiting him into that pass. Right? Here's a situation where we didn't necessarily want to switch. Right? So this is Brandon Knight and Nene. So Brandon Knight, we don't want Brandon Knight. We want him to stay on the perimeter. We know he's a better perimeter on guards, right? But he gets clipped. Gonna happen, right? This is what we call a veer back switch. So Nene, he knows it, so he's taking the ball, and Brandon Knight works to get underneath, right? You see him working to get underneath Favors right here, right? He gets underneath, he makes that pass, he's in position to make a deflection, they end up turning it over. You read it. Guys were tremendous reading it, reading the situation. All right, House and Clint here. All right, House is beat. We weren't switching this horns because it's LaMarcus Aldridge. We want Clint to stay on that matchup as much as possible. But because he's beat, House veers back. He's in front position right there. Right, it is what it is. And PJ does a great job denying a reversal and a horn set. Because what San Antonio was playing to right there was the high-low, obviously, to Aldridge, especially versus the switch. All right, switching to deny. You see Tuck here. And James, I think that's James. Yeah, it's James. Right? Physical switch, switching to deny. Right? Good denial by Fareed right there. Here's another one. All right, pin down's coming. Eric Gordon and Nene, they're already talking it out. Right? Nene switches out. Denies Klay Thompson coming off. Know who the threat is, and then you're playing from there. Good job being up and into him by Austin Rivers right there. Switching to forced turnovers. Right? Off the ball here, House. So, well, first, you see Clint and Eric. There's a switch. You see them pointing. They're talking. They're communicating. Right? Pin down's coming. House switches out to deny. Just pushes everything out. Switching to take away threes. Got Terrence Ross coming out of the corner right here. If this play is for him, it's chin action. We got the chin cut here. In game plan, we weren't switching that. CP stuck with his. He could technically switch it, but game plan, we didn't want to switch it. But you see Eric communicating where he's going to switch out to deny that three because that's what they're playing to. All right? Switching to take away three, switching to deny, switching to force turnovers. And we'll live with that shot 10 times out of 10. Switching as a weapon. This is a great read right here. All right, so we switch. Right? Tuck, you see Tuck right here. Tuck, he falls asleep over here. He's pointing over here. I don't know what he's talking about. He's probably saying, hey, be aware of this over there. But he loses Klay Thompson right here. Right? Eric Gordon sees it, switches out, aggressive, covering for the mistake. Right? He's up and into him, forces a turnover. We were keeping the matchup here. We could switch this pin down like we just showed you, but Tuck was staying on Paul George, right? Stays into him. Here's your short roll action, right? We're aggressive with the ball screen. Short roll, bottom guy comes over. Multiple efforts, and then it gets back, right? Making him take a tough shot. Shot clock was winding down. Get on the floor, multiple efforts. I think this is the last clip here. Right. Pretty good job help by Nene there. He gets back. We'll live with Jordan Bell making plays. Good hands, good deflection. Getting into him. 24-second violation. So, again, I was fortunate to be part of some really good defensive teams. And Houston, contrary to what a lot of people believe or contrary to what the media portrays, we were a really, really good defensive team. Like I said, 6th for the season, the year we went to the Western Conference Finals, 2nd post-All-Star break last year. And James is, everybody says James Harden's a terrible defender. At times it can be, no question. But when the dude was locked in, especially in playoffs, I mean, he was a big part of why we were so successful defensively. It was all 5 guys buying in, being aggressive. Again, just being bought into the system. It's funny because, so my story in Houston, I won't get into it too much, but for whatever reason, I was one of 5 guys that was let go last summer. And all of us were on the defensive side. And then there was a player development guy as well. But, it's for whatever reason, money being the scapegoat for defense. I don't really understand it. But it's funny because the guys that they ended up hiring, they still switch everything, still have the same system that we had because the players believed in it so much and you weren't going to change their minds. That's different, obviously, in the pros. James is a guy that you really got to earn his trust before you end up changing anything on it. But James, PJ, we were on the brink of winning a championship if CP didn't get hurt. So that's how much those guys believed in that system, switching and everything, and they weren't changing it this past year. And even more so now that they have the small ball lineup, you got 5 perimeters out there, they're definitely switching everything. So, it's having that. I think it's so important for guys to be bought in and believe in what they do, and then you're going to get the most out of them. So that's the video I got for you guys. Happy to answer as many questions as you have. If not, if you're tired of hearing me talk, you can tell me to get out of here too. So.
Coach,
I've got
this has
one.
been great.
If nobody else did.
Yeah, go ahead, Coach Fazio.
It's kind of branching off of your kind of presentation, but since you guys did a lot of switching, what were some of the more popular things you saw to kind of attack your switching once you guys kind of moved to that thing? I feel like switching is becoming more and more popular, but then offenses are starting to trying to figure out how to attack it best. I was just curious what your thoughts were on that.
It's all about creating a decision, right? So where we ran into trouble at times, again, going back to the really good year that we had, Utah won a game against us in the second round. I think it was game 2. And the reason they won is because they came in and they slipped everything, right? They were sprinting into it, change of pace, and then all of a sudden they slip the screen. Whether that's baseline screens, whether it's a ball screen, whatever type of screen it is. But it created that indecision of should I switch, should I not switch? And that's where we really as a team worked on coming together and switching on contact. One of our rules was, especially in a ball screen, you only time you switch is when you hear the coverage or hear you're supposed to switch or you get hit by the screen, right? So it's really tough to do because as a defender guarding that big coming up, you got to declare if it's going to be a switch or not, right? But it was great communication, especially guys like Tuck and Clint, of saying, no screen, you're by yourself, slip, whatever. But that seemed to give us the most problems is because it creates that indecision. You could call it, slipping, ghosting, whatever. And in Golden State, I truly believe we had their number that year, but they were still a lethal team. And one of the ways that they're so good is guys like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, those guys never stop moving, right? So they're constantly moving, and it's they're moving, but there's still change of pace. Like if you watch Steph a lot, Steph will walk, right? And all of a sudden he'll come off super quick, but he's still moving even though he's walking, right? It's a change. He's setting you up for his cut. And a lot of times those guys do a great job of running on the baseline, coming off baseline screens. And a lot of times our guys would switch out to take away that 3, but then give up the slip to the rim, that guy cutting to the rim. So again, it's a lot of slips, just creating that indecision.
Cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Coach, I've got a question. I really like the idea of the body blows, and you don't always necessarily see the effects of the pressure until maybe you're able to land that haymaker. And so I'm curious, is there a way to quantify those? And so if we're judging the success of our defense only on turnovers or I guess on winning the game, is there a way to quantify the body blows?
for us at SFA, you could really tell when teams were starting to get worn down. Again, I don't know if you can put a number on it. You can track deflections. You can track 50-50 wins. You can track charges, floor dives, all the hustle type stats, right? I don't know where we finished with fouling, but I know we fouled a lot. But again, we were fortunate that we had such a deep team, because even if guys got in foul trouble, we were able to plug the holes. But that's one way. A lot of times coach will be like, there's 3 minutes left in the half and we've only got 3 fouls for the half. He's like, we got to be more aggressive, right? We got to get into guys more. And sometimes we just did a really good job of not fouling. There were those instances, but I think it's more of, like I said, you can track those things, but I think it's a lot to do with the eye test as well. Seeing where guys are catching the ball. Are they getting pushed out on the catches? Way out on the perimeter. If they're trying to run a post-up play, are they catching on the block, or are they catching it 4 feet off the block? In the mid post. And that's the physical. You can see it. You can see it. Just about how aggressive you are and where their offense is being initiated and where it's being ran. But other than that, I mean, at SFA, we didn't really put a number on it. We would go back post game and track a lot of the hustle stats, but within the game, we just used regular box score stuff. So it was more of the eye test.
Gotcha. And then the other thing I was going to ask is, we defend in this way too. And I think a lot of times you get coaches that might say, well, we would guard that way too if we had those types of athletes, or I don't know if we have those, the athletes to be able to defend in that way. What's your response to that?
Winning is hard. Defense is hard. I think, obviously, yeah, it's about the Jimmies and Joes, not the X's and O's, right? You got to have good players to win games. At the end of the day, that's what it is. But to get the most out of your guys, they got to be bought in and they got to play with tremendous effort. I think defense, obviously there's defensive concepts, and you got to know how to play it. But I think because there are so many mistakes defensively, your extra efforts, your multiple efforts make up for those mistakes. Your communication is absolutely key for your team to be good defensively. And because that helps, if you got a quarterback back there that's calling everything out for you, that helps everybody be on high alert. It just elevates their game. Yes, you want athletes, but I mean, you got to get more effort out of guys. I think everybody has a little bit more in their tank than they realize. And it's hard because you got to, especially I think with today's athlete, at least from what I'm seeing, is you got to be a little bit more careful what you say and how you say it to guys. There's a little bit more sensitivity out there, but you got to be able to push them to their brink. Our coach here, he's more of an old school guy. He will get after him, which was a change for me because being in Houston, being in the pros, you can't really coach that way. You got to learn how to teach and talk to guys and coach them without just constantly screaming at them. But I think in college and high school, you can get away with a little bit more of that. So it was an adjustment for me coming here at SFA, but he did a great job of doing things outside of basketball that really created the family type atmosphere where they trusted him. And he asked him at the beginning of the season, how hard do you want me to coach you? Guys are going to be like, I want you to coach me, right? So now you put a little bit of ownership on them, and he would oftentimes during practice say, hey, you want me to coach you this hard? This is what we're doing, right? This is hard to do. You got to do it. And one of the things that I liked what we did, it was weird. It was about 2 months into the season. We hadn't done it yet, but he made them get 2 perfect stops in a row defensively. And it had to be absolutely perfect. And one of the teams was out there, I want to say, for a good 30, 35 minutes. And they were just, absolutely gassed. But when they finally got the 2 stops in a row, you could see it. Everybody in the team was like, all right, let's go. It builds that camaraderie, and it brings the best out of everybody. But, it's, again, you got to have good players. I get that. I understand that. But you got to be able to push the guys a little bit too. In defense, like I said, Jeff Bzdelic always said, defense is hard and winning is hard. And you got to be bought in and to be a good defensive team. You really do. It's multiple efforts all the time.
Appreciate you, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
Coach, you pride yourself in the physical sacrifice, and I'd love to see a practice of yours. It has to be high energy. Are you doing charge drills and loose ball drills every practice, even the day before a game?
Not every day. We did have, we call it the IBA drill. We did have a couple drills that really emphasized that. And what the IBA drill was a guy would be 1-on-2. And a lot of times we would put our managers or our walk-ons or whoever wanted to get free hits on our players, right? And you get them down there, you get them with the pad, and it's 1-on-2, and they're just beating the absolute crap out of them. And they got to finish two shots. They got to make 2 shots, get the ball, and they're just hammering them the whole time. Right? As soon as they make 2 shots, a coach gets the ball, he rolls it out, and he goes and he dives on the floor for it. Then from there, you give him the ball. Now he's driving, right? Or I'm sorry, you give the ball to another coach, and he's driving, and he's got to go from diving on the floor to go and help position and then take a charge. Right? So, and that's a fun one because guys just get absolutely exhausted in it as well. But, the mindset was, and again, credit to our guys, they were so bought in with it that it just within the flow of practice, they'd be diving all over the floor. And to be honest with you, it'd make me really nervous sometimes. Because guys are just diving on the floor, and I'm like, oh, please don't hit a knee, But, you emphasize first to the floor, and guys, you got multiple guys diving to the floor. It's just, I think injuries are part of the game, but it is a little scary at times. But guys were so bought in that, it was, like I said, it was through the course of practice. Now, if it's a day before a game, you may start to let up a little bit on timing of practice, on how long you go, and certain drills that you do. But again, it was hard to change our mindset of guys to tone it down, and that's where we got to be strategic as coaches and what kind of drills we're doing. Is it more contact? Is it less contact? Before the, day before the game, shoot arounds, day of the game, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, this has been great. Coaches, you guys have any other questions?
Well, hopefully I didn't ramble too much. Hopefully you got something out of that.
Those video clips are outstanding quality, and I think you touched on everything for us. So can't thank you enough for being here today and sharing your Press U defensive system. And Coach, definitely looking forward to following you guys and the Lumberjacks this upcoming season.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's I don't know if you guys heard or not, but there's something that happened here in 2013. So good old NCAA decided to come hammer us this season with some sanctions. So fortunately, very fortunately, we will have a postseason next year. And we didn't want to. We thought it was really unfair for our guys to not have get robbed of a postseason this year with the coronavirus, and then we were going to say, okay, you're going to rob us of another one next year. It's not fair to those juniors that were here this year going into their senior season. So we fortunately got it pushed back, but not next season, but the following season we get a postseason ban for some administrative mistakes back in 2013. So good old NCAA, good times. But watch us this next year. Should be fun.
We're looking forward to it. And coaches, thanks for tuning in. Friday, we're going to have Bill Wazinski from Boston College. He's going to be shifting gears and talking about some offensive concepts. There are 4 phases. But, guys, it's been a fun morning. And, Coach, thanks again.